So they definitely are on the plus side for that. Yeah, she loves it.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to call to order the regular meeting Monday, January 23rd, 2023. I ask all who have not signed in to please do so. Please turn off all cell phones and other electronic devices. Please conduct any private conversations in the hallway or outside. This meeting room is equipped with an inductive loop hearing assistance system. You will be able to hear conversations through the microphones or hearing aids with a T switch. Emergency exits can be found to your right and to your left. And please note, this meeting is also live streamed via YouTube with text commenting available. At this time, if you please join us in a salute to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I just have one announcement. Usually the last meeting of every month, we identify which of our town employees will be celebrating birthdays in the upcoming month. So in the month of February, we actually have 7 employees, starting with Roxanne Ammerman on February the 2nd, Felicia Skabinski on the 9th, Mr. Jim Mattoon on Valentine's Day, the 14th. The town supervisor is also having another historical birthday on the 15th. Lisa Simmons on the 18th. Sandy Cody on the 20th. And the final day of the year, leap year, be a leap year birthday, Amber Downs. Now, that's it. So, in the agenda that was sent out to the public, we actually had originally 2 public hearings scheduled, and actually I asked the clerk's office to put in for a reschedule for February 13th for the original one. This is the proposed local law regarding a cannabis retail dispensary. And board members, at your place setting, I had sent you some maps the other day, and then at your place setting this evening as well, there was maps that identify parcels in the Benderson project or Benderson complex. First being that building that is where the houses the men's warehouse, and then the next would be a couple restaurants. I think Pie Craft Pizza. And then we move to the next little larger section, which is where Jersey Mike's is, and then the one right on the corner. So the intention here is we had looked at 250, 500, and 750-foot buffers and felt that all of them seem to be pretty extreme. We do have the 100-foot buffer, which is identified in the local law as well. The intent here is to take a look at where these buildings are and the 2 neighborhoods behind there. Individuals who live on Rolling Meadows Way and individuals that live on Meadowlark Lane as well. So the intent being we would be providing a buffer that has no distance identified, but it's just excluding these parcels, these 4 parcels from the tax map. So And the only other thing that I would ask is that on page 2 of the local law, and this was also for our attorney, is the any reference to contiguous parcels. I think there's certainly the ability to cause confusion with that type of language. If we could remove any language that refers to contiguous parcels, which could create some confusion. So, board members, I'm looking for your thoughts on this, and I would, this is my recommendation to this board. And then we could, if you agree, then we'll have the revisions, we'll re-notify, and have a public hearing on the 13th of February.
I have no issue with that.
No issue. Agreed.
Okay. Okay. At this time, public hearing number 2 is hereby open. We'll ask our clerk to please read the public hearing notice.
A notice for the public hearing to override the New York tax levy limit for 2024 for the town of Victor, scheduled for the 23rd day of January at 7 p.m. in the Victor Town Hall, was published in the Daily Messenger newspaper on January 13th and is posted at the Victor Village Hall.
Thank you, Karen. I'm going to ask our Director of Finance, Rich O'Donnell, to come up and provide just an overview on, have an understanding of the rationale here by the board.
Again, I'm Rich O'Donnell, the Finance Director here for the town. Just want to make a couple comments on why we actually are looking for this request to override the tax levy. This is really basically a procedural process. We've done this the last couple of years. In order to do it now in January, before we hit the budget process, which starts in the summertime. The intention is always going into my thought process and along with the boards is not to override this limit. It's not asking for it to do it, but it's just to be there. So when I meet with the department heads prior to any of the start of the budgets, we go in with the thought that we're going to be at the tax cap or below. We don't want to go in with the impression right away to go over the tax cap. So that is not our intention here. Just like in 2023, we actually kept the tax levy the same. Certainly some concerns going into this budget year coming in the summer. Inflation's definitely on everybody's mind, and how that affects a lot of the cost of goods. You know, some of the things that we don't have control over the costs, utilities, fuel, and so forth. So we'll go into each of the budget meetings with that in mind, and how if we need to raise certain prices, lower costs somewhere else. The other concern I have too is how this is going to affect our sales tax revenue. Are people spending less? So that means less tax revenue for the town. So all things to consider, but I'm confident we can stay at or below our tax cap going into next year.
Thank you, Rich. Yep. So at this time, I'll ask if there's any members of the public that care to speak for or against this proposed local law override. Again, I'll ask if there's any members of the public care to speak for or against this proposed local law override. Hearing no comments, motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, getting back to the business at hand, starting with the approval of meeting minutes. This is the organizational meeting held back on January 9th, and then the regular town board meeting after that.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Meeting minutes from the 9th have been approved. Payment of bills. I'll ask our town clerk to please introduce them.
Manifest number 2 in the amount of $118,800.09 has been reviewed by the Victor Town Board with the following accounts charged: general townwide, general outside village, and highway townwide.
Thank you, Karen. And the abstract number 2, manifest number 2 is up on the screen. Our first payment is to Bluestone Creek Development, February rent. Next is Harris Beach for December legal fees. Payment to Integrated System for 2023 professional services. Payment to Kistner for concrete for manholes and catch basins. Payment to Ontario County Board of Elections for the voting districts. And payment to Ontario County Stormwater Coalition for the 2023 membership. Total of the above mentioned expenditures is $56,634.81. Total town expenditures minus these previous mentioned expenditures equals $62,165.28. Board members, any questions on this evening's manifest? Hearing none, entertain a motion to approve the payments thereof.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Next, we have the reports of our town officials. Oh, excuse me, my apologies. We have no privilege of the floor this evening. Moving to public comments, an opportunity for members of the public, both in person as well as we have a taker.
Good evening. My name is Maura Steed. I live on Strong Road. I am I'm a little nervous at doing this, but I just really wanted to come in and talk to you, express. I'm not an orator, but I am an impassioned person about the farmland and the legacy of Victor. I appreciate being able to express some of my feelings to all of you. I always like to refer to the stewards of our land with the Senecas and what they did to keep our land and respect it and be stewards of it so that we now have the land we do, and that the farmers, the legacy of Victor and the farmers who became the more current stewards of the land, that we consider what is going on today in the world of losing farmland throughout the country, and how it is being developed, and it will be lost forever. And that is the most significant thing. When we moved here about 23, 24 years ago, and I continued to be so impressed with the farmland and how little irrigation really needed to happen around, certainly in the quadrant of Victor where I live, and that the cornfields and everything was just, it was looking wonderful. And we are presently facing a development being proposed at Strong Road and Taylor, near where I live. And I think a lot of us are just fearful this is going to be opening the door to more farmland being lost permanently. There are spaces that are being given to it that are going to be green spaces and conservation, but it is not going to be conducive to farming. And there is so much emphasis on local produce of, I mean, there are a whole lot of people to be fed, and if we keep taking up the farmland, we're not going to be taking care of that. We are not being good stewards of the land. And the drumlins, the unique formation of the land here and the drumlins, and how it has made for incredible aquifers for the creeks and streams that have continued to be wonderful sources of water for, in fact, I just looked up something about the fact that the Finger Lakes Oh, boy. The water, provides water for over 2 million people, drinking water. And the public drinking water serves about another 1.5 million people. The fresh water that we have with the Great Lakes around us, it's pretty astounding that that is about 21% of the fresh water in the world. And it's like we have this absolute obligation. I mean, it's like our legacy. We need to be protecting all this and doing what we can. And I understand that people, farmers, have worked their land, and now a lot of them are at the point where they can't do it anymore, and their children are on to other things. And we don't, I'm not suggesting that they not be able to have some monetary reward for this, and if they can't farm anymore and they have to move, it's important that they be able to sell their land. I don't think Victor is particularly interested in purchasing developing rights, but I would really like to encourage you to look at more creative ways of dealing with this. There are farmer organizations encouraging young people who want to farm and helping them figure out how they can do it and afford it. There are organizations that have endowments, organizations that are about preserving the land, and yes, colleges who have majors in vintner majors, ecological majors. And I'm thinking about our property, not ours, but across from me, where there is a historic home. And I keep thinking there's got to be a college and some other organizations to come together. And the young people restore this historic home. They can live in it while they're restoring it. They learn about farming the land and keeping the balance of the environment. And I guess I have a science background and an art background, so I have right brain, left brain, which too often keeps me awake at night. But I do think that all of you definitely have the ability to think, kind of outside the box, and ways in which the town can work to bring a whole group of people together of varying backgrounds, and to kind of preserve the legacy of Victor and make it sort of a stellar place of, look at what Victor has done to save their farmland, and to have this be a very significant and important part of the area. So thank you very much for allowing me to spiel.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Any other members of the public?
Carol Fisher, 632 Wangum Road, also called County Road 42. I came here October 24th requesting that you not pay RG&E because for over a year a street light near our house and at an intersection was out, and I reported this several times to RG&E with no results. And you referred me to Mark Years, the highway superintendent, and he referred me to Casey Page, highway manager, and Casey never gave up. We were both calling RG&E and NYSEG, New York State Electrical and Gas, and they are partners, something I didn't know before. Anyway, we were both working on this, but Casey was the one who got through. In December 8th or 9th, the streetlight was back on. So I want to acknowledge Casey and her hard work, to let you know she is now with the highway department, tracking down and reporting other lights that are out. She's found 30 so far. I appreciate Casey's hard work and the highway department people who have been working on this matter. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate you recognizing the efforts of one of our employees. Any other members of the public? Susie? No one on the YouTube. Okay. Moving to reports of town officials, we have the report of our highway department. And if you've taken a look at that, certainly I think we were a little spoiled in year 2021. Not that we look at any money earned through the tin and metal or paper as certainly an opportunity to hold down costs, but both metal and paper were down $7,000 over 2021. So that was just, I'd bring that to your attention. And next is the town historians report. Report from our IT website, report from Susie. And then the January 6th report from the Planning and Building Department. I do know that, not sure, identified here is the number of fire inspections done by our fire marshal, 893 fire inspections. Building permits issued in 2022, 803, which is close to more than 100 in 2021. Again, these are more than just, these are decks, fences, pools, etc. And certainly the fees were much higher than in the previous year. And I also want to mention, so in their stormwater management, identify that we're still waiting on new generators on Pump Station 10, Rainbow Run, and Pump Station 13. I will share with you that when Rich and I were looking at the cost of these, we were told then by the vendor it'd be about a year before we would receive them. The price went up 3 times the amount, and then, but again, this is all under, a number of these pump stations are under the consent order with this DEC. Since then, we've gone from a year, it's more like 18 months now before we receive ownership of these, so it's taken even longer. So it's been a bit frustrating. And at our last zoning board of appeals meeting last week, I think we had about 45 residents, many of them who reside in the Gypsum Mills area. I know we've had a couple of stop work orders issued in there as well. A number of the manufactured home parks certainly are infringing upon the next door neighbor. My understanding, according to state law, I think it's 10 feet between each dwelling, and some were 6 feet apart and closer. So what I did was our chair of the ZBA, I called him, and actually we have a fairly new code enforcement officer, Rick McGrain. Rick's background is in manufactured home parks. So I had both of them meet with me here last Friday. And then from there, or maybe it was Thursday, regardless, we met, went over an understanding that both of them had. Rick had some great points. We were able to educate Mike, and then we toured. We took a ride over and took a look at them as well. So not sure what the outcome will be. They did table a couple of them because they had to be referred to the county as well. So I don't know if anyone in attendance at the last CBA meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty full house, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was gonna actually, when it comes to our comments, I was gonna make
Yeah,
comments
please.
separate to that as
Yeah,
well.
please do.
Yeah.
I also want to, and I failed to mention it, but, and again, I'll mention it when we do have the public hearing on the 13th, but I do want to applaud Councilman Condon, because when he did attend the last planning board meeting, a number of questions brought forth by the, you recall that we referred the local law on the cannabis to the planning board, and Councilman Condon answered many of the questions brought forth by the board. So why don't you get right in there and mention that zoning board meeting?
Yeah, well, and I was going to make comment too, is it kind of coming from our last meeting, what we talked about, and I know we had a good, healthy discussion on the easements and these hold harmless agreements, and we had another case come up at the ZBA, and this was kind of interesting because this is one where the homeowner followed the process, the proper process for adding an addition to the home, and it was the contractor, third-party contractor, that inappropriately completed the job where it was too close to the side setback of the adjacent residential property. So they ultimately granted the waiver and gave them the waiver because, it would have cost over $200,000 for the contractor to repair that. But it's very interesting to see the diligence, not only, when it comes to the hold harmless agreements and, these easements, but just the amount of work and effort and attention it takes on behalf of our planning and building department to make sure that these projects are being done properly. And in this case, they identified it to them that you're not doing it properly, and then ultimately when they did it improperly, told them you've done it improperly. But it takes certainly a lot of diligence to do that. But coming from that conversation we had last board meeting, it seems to be a very, very difficult thing to capture the whole of the town and control those situations. It's not easy.
No, it's not. Thank you.
Yeah. If I could, Supervisor, too, I wanted to mention, just because I saw in the planning and building report, the 893 inspections that the fire marshal, Bob Graham, did. I just
Yes.
wanted to recognize him for that, because that's certainly an area of work where I get to see him working very frequently in those roles, and those fire inspections. I think to the layperson, you could oftentimes kind of think it's a walkthrough, checking the boxes, and I can say that it's very far from that. And I certainly get to on a weekly basis see how his fire inspections occur, but he picks up on a lot of things that prevent a lot of bad things from happening. So he should be recognized for that, and that's a ton of work, 893 inspections.
Thank you. As a career fireman, appreciate that. Yes, he is very dedicated and very thorough. Believe me, I've heard complaints from people he's written up as well. But that's, he's at his finest, so. I would just like to, under Supervisor's verbal report, at your place setting as well, there was the Victor Fire Department line officers' contact information, as well as the District Commissioner's contact information for year 2023. I want to thank all you board members for taking the time last Friday to attend the open house for Congresswoman Claudia Tenney. This is these districts through the redistricting. Assembly people, assembly person, and our senator, vast areas, but this congressional district, I know she's in Jefferson County as well, and Oswego, so it's just amazing. So she does have an office there, but Victor's going to be her central office, and this is 7171 Pittsford Victor Road, right across the street from the car wash and the first quick fill when you're heading out of town. So we welcome her, glad to have her here. I did receive resignation from the Farmington Victor Food Cupboard Director of Operation, Karen Guidarelli, and certainly disappointed to hear that. Not sure who her replacement will be, but she'll be sorely missed. Karen was very passionate, and again, we talk about passion, very passionate about feeding the people in this region, and so she will be missed. And then the final item, I wanted to mention that there's a new company that'll be coming to Victor, DGA Builders. They're bringing 59 employees, and they're looking to grow. They'll be located at 7612 Main Street, Fishers. This is the second tenant in this 12,000 square foot building. DGA will be occupying about 8,000 square feet. So that's all I have, and Councilman Cusimano, thanks for your input before. Any other board members with anything they care to share with us? Okay. Moving to the resolutions this evening. Starting in the Parks and Recreation Department. Again, this is choosing Proctor Enterprises for the replacement of the garage roof at Mary Frances Bluebird.
So moved, and I would just say, Brian, I'm glad we're going with a metal roof. I think that's a great option. It'll be there long after you and I are gone. So I think that's definitely a good way to go, and I like Proctor. I've seen a lot of his roofs. He does really good work, so moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Number 2, agreement with Brian Petty. This is,
Jack,
yes.
Can we block 2, 3, and 5, which are all Brian agreements with other vendors for different events?
Is there any objection to blocking resolutions 2, 3, and 4?
2, 3, and 5.
2, 3, and 5.
Nope, no objection.
I'll second that.
Okay. And again, to the residents that are just blocking them, they're very similar. Parks and Rec type of agreements with individuals. One is for drawing and watercolor, the other one's a band and ice skating. So we have a first, we have a second. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Those resolutions are passed.
Where's the
Now we're on
insurance?
4, yeah.
Okay, number 4, request for certificate of liability insurance.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Number 6, this is authorization for the purchase of a Land Pride Kubota tractor. And again, this is the part of the piggyback from the Land Pride Sourcewell contract.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Number 6 is passed. Number 7, authorization for the purchase of a Toro Turbo. And this will be for the Parks and Rec Department, 60-inch mower.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Number 8, excuse me, authorization for the supervisor to enter into a lease and service agreement with Toshiba Business Solutions for 2 color copiers for Town Hall. And I know originally, Rich and I had talked, we were thinking purchase all day. And upon further review, this makes the most sense, dollars and cents, for us to pursue a lease agreement.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Number 9 is the designation of voting delegate for the Association of Towns, which I will be attending. It provides me with the opportunity to represent the community and vote on the resolutions that'll be coming up at that meeting.
I see that's in New York City. Jack, I'm happy to attend as your proxy if you can't make it. So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Who was second?
I did.
I did.
Okay, thank you.
And number 10 is the after public hearing on adopting the local law.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and again,
Roll call.
Okay.
Supervisor Marin,
yes.
Councilman Guinan,
Yes.
Councilman Kohovic,
Yes.
Councilman Condon,
Yes.
Councilman Cusimano.
Yes.
All those, oh yeah, I did it, so my bad. Public comment. Again, an opportunity for the public to address the town board. Suzie, anyone? No one on? Okay. At this time, entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.